start by sharing my recipe for bouillabaisse. I remember formulating this recipe because I was gonna serve it for dinner at the Lady and Sons restaurant, in our restaurant. So I wanted it to be perfect. And I was really, really satisfied with this recipe when I got through. I've got a cup of water back here, boiling water. Now I'm gonna throw in 1 pound of mussels. And these mussels will probably open up in probably about 6 minutes. I'm gonna let that get hot again. I'm gonna put the lid back on it and let them cook about 6 minutes. I'm gonna put 1/3 cup of olive oil, about 1/3 cup. I'm not even gonna bother measuring it. I think I can eyeball 1/3 cup of olive oil. I'm gonna let our olive oil get hot, and I'm gonna finish chopping up me some fresh garlic. To me, you can't have too much garlic in bouillabaisse. So I'm gonna throw in my fresh garlic, 3/4 cup of onion into the pot, 1 teaspoon of fennel, and the fennel seeds, oh, they smell like licorice. They smell so good. You're not gonna wanna substitute this. Okay, a pinch of saffron. And remember, saffron's very potent, very expensive, so you don't need but just a little bit of it. In fact, when you buy saffron, you might want to share it with a friend or a neighbor. It's one of those spices that you might not use that often, so you can go in halvesies with a friend. Share the expenses. All right. Now I'm gonna add 1 cup of tomatoes. And let those cook for a few minutes. Hear that pot sizzling? So I was saying, if you really wanna wind up with the dish bouillabaisse, there's gonna be some things that you're not wanna substitute with anything else, and that would be your fennel and your saffron, because those are the flavors that are intended for bouillabaisse. All right, let's look over here at our mussels. Oh, they've all opened, y'all. Every one of them. So I'm gonna turn that off. Gonna turn that eye off. Now I've got 2.5 cups of really hot water that I let come to a boil, and I'm just gonna put that in my pot. And then I'm gonna add about 1/2 bottle of clam juice. And this clam juice, I found when I was formulating this recipe, just really made a big difference. There's a powerful amount of flavor in this clam juice that's just gonna make our bouillabaisse. Now I'm gonna take the water that our mussels cooked in, and I'm gonna pour it over into our pot, because there's a lot of flavor in that. All right. Now I'm gonna add a little pepper. All we need now is a little bit of salt. And I'm gonna be careful with my salt because clam juice is salty. So I'm gonna just be kind of moderate with my salt. I just can't believe that I formulated this recipe and I didn't put any butter in it. I can't hardly believe it. So, you know, I got some butter back here, so if you got it, use it, I always say. So I'm just gonna put just a little bit of butter into my bouillabaisse. Just that little bit of butter, to me, will add lots of flavor. Now to our pot. I'd let this simmer, you know, cook for maybe 10 minutes. All right, and now my seafood that I've chosen to go into my bouillabaisse is 4 halves of cooked crab, or blue crab. There's fabulous flavors that are gonna come in here from that blue crab. In goes the mussels. In goes our fish. Now, I'm using a beautiful fresh grouper that I've cut into about 1-inch pieces. So in the pot, our fish goes. And I'm gonna let this cook and reduce for about 6 or 7 more minutes. And when we come back, I'm gonna throw in about a pound of jumbo shrimp. And we're gonna have our pot of bouillabaisse pulled together just that quickly. And coming up, it's a delicious wild rice and oyster casserole. And I'm putting together a salmon dish with herbs from my garden. So I'll see you back here in a minute. I so hope y'all are enjoying the show. And if you do, be sure to click like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you'll never miss a video. And we'll be right back after the break. Hey y'all, our bouillabaisse is looking fabulous. Now, the last ingredient that's gonna go in our pot is 1 pound of shrimp. I'm just gonna put those in, let them bathe in that wonderful, rich broth. And in a few minutes, this is gonna be ready for us to sample. Now, come on over here, and I wanna share a recipe with you that one of my girlfriends here in Savannah gave me. She fixes it all the time for her family. It is wild rice and oyster casserole. Now, I've started by preparing 1 box of long grain and wild rice. All right, so I'm gonna turn on our skillet here. I've got 2 quarts of oysters sitting over here. Now, I'm gonna put 4 tablespoons of butter in our skillet. In my other pot, I'm gonna throw in 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. You know, mamas love cooking with cream of mushroom soup. I'm gonna add 1½ teaspoons of onion powder into our soup. I'm gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. All right, our butter's gotten hot, so let's pour in our oysters and watch them just do that fabulous dance that they do. We do love us some oysters here in town. All right, now I'm gonna give our mushroom soup a stir. I'm gonna stir in that cup of 1/2 and 1/2 along with my onion powder and my garlic powder. All right, now while those are doing their thing, I'm gonna come over here and I'm just gonna fluff our rice. I'm gonna add about 1/2 stick. No, I'm not. I'm gonna go ahead and add a full stick of butter. Who am I lying to? And I think I'm gonna add a few shakes of hot sauce. Give this dish a little bite, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna let that butter melt into that rice. All right, let's come over here and pay some attention to our oysters. Here's a good one right here. You can see how that's curled up. That oyster has curled. So I'm gonna cut our pots off. Now I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna divide our rice. And I'm gonna put 1/2 of it on the bottom of our casserole dish and just spread that out. All right, now I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna scoop out our oysters. And I'm just gonna layer those. I think I'm gonna change spoons. This pulls out more oysters. You know, oysters are considered an aphrodisiac. Did y'all know that? Maybe that's why my girlfriends make this dish so often. You reckon? So now we're gonna come back in here and just place it on top of those oysters. Now we're gonna take our cream of mushroom soup, our half and half, and we're just gonna pour this over our rice. All right. So we're just gonna spread that cream of mushroom out on top. And this casserole is just gonna be out of this world, y'all. So we're gonna pop this in the oven, 350-degree preheated oven. We're gonna let it bake until it's hot and bubbly, because remember, everything is really cooked in it. Our rice is cooked, our oysters have cooked. So for about 35 minutes. So in it goes. Now let's come over here and take a look at our pot of bouillabaisse. Oh, and it looks just wonderful. And I think I'm gonna bring my bowl to the pot instead of trying to bring my pot to my bowl. I just love the way those mussels look in here, y'all. The shells give it such a beautiful texture and beautiful color, not to mention the flavor that it gives it. I just love that crab. Oh, it's so hot, y'all. I love to just suck the crab meat out of these shells. It's so good. All right, I'm gonna take me a little fresh parsley and just snip that up real quick like. And toss on 1 little teaspoon of butter, just 1 teaspoon, y'all, not too much. Look at that beautiful dish. That is so good, y'all. Up next, it's a tasty salmon from the garden, and then later, a simple, delicious crab martini.
I hope y'all are enjoying the show, and I want to hear from you. Tell me what recipes or videos you'd like to see me make by just leaving a short comment below. Now, let's get back to the show, y'all.
So welcome back, y'all. Now, y'all ready to taste our wild rice and oyster casserole? It's ready, and it's looking delicious. Oh, gosh, this is the heaviest dish I think I've got in the house. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? But I've got a real pretty blue clam dish to serve this in. And let's just dip in here and get us a piece of that. Can you see the oysters hanging out? Now I'm just gonna sprinkle it with a little parsley for color. And I've got some red pepper flakes. You might wanna just dribble a little of that on it. If you're an oyster lover, I really think you're gonna like that. Well, come on down here and I wanna show you one of my son Bobby's favorite dishes, and that's salmon. We got in here in the kitchen one day. It was Jamie, Bobby, and me, and we had this cook-off. Mama was cooking my mama's short ribs that I just knew was gonna be a hands-down winner. Jamie made this huge pot of chili that he just knew he was gonna win with, and Bobby came up with his humble little salmon. Well, guess who won it? Bobby with his salmon. And the name of this dish is Salmon from My Garden. Well, you know the salmon's not from my garden. Well, in a way, it's from my garden, my water garden back here. But the reason I call it Salmon from My Garden is because I grow all these herbs out in my yard. So all I had to do was go out and just gather my fresh herbs from the garden. Now that's our sage. I've got some fresh rosemary. I love growing fresh rosemary, y'all. I can go outside and I can brush, just barely brush that bush of rosemary, and the fragrance will just almost knock you down. All right, so we've got our rosemary, and then we've got our thyme. And all you have to do is just pull it off. Just strip the little green leaves off the stems. So we've got our sage, we've got our rosemary, and we've got our fresh thyme. And I'm gonna use some lemon slices. Now, Bobby, if he were cooking this fish, would be using orange slices. So you might want to substitute the lemon with an orange. All right, I'm gonna take my piece of tin foil, place my salmon on it, a little butter, a little house seasoning, which is just our salt, pepper, and our garlic powder. A sprinkle of all of our fresh herbs, a couple of lemon slices, and we're gonna just fold them up just like this. We're gonna put them in the oven at 350 degrees. A simple but healthy, delicious, quick meal. All right, a little of the, oops, I want to season that first. A little of the house seasoning, a little sage, our rosemary, our thyme, and let's not forget our lemon. The salmon is kind of one of those fishes, you know, either you really, really love it or you don't care for it. If you happen to be one of those people that really don't care for salmon, you can substitute with this with any fish that you like, whatever your favorite happens to be. So in the oven, 350 degrees, 13 minutes, not 12, y'all, not 14, but 13 minutes. And y'all stick around because when I come back, I'm gonna be serving y'all up a martini, a delicious crab martini.
I so hope y'all are enjoying the show. And if you do, be sure to click like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you'll never miss a video. And we'll be right back after the break.
Hey, y'all, it's time to taste our salmon. It's been 13 minutes. And I've made an orzo salad. I've just tossed in some fresh herbs and olives and red pepper. I'm gonna just crunch this up and use our foil as a plate. And that doesn't look too bad on the plate, does it? I'm gonna dip me up a little orzo with all those wonderful herbs. The butter from the salmon coming all out. Oh my goodness. You won't believe how the thyme just really kicks in there. I want to share a quick little recipe, y'all, and it's called a crab martini. I'm gonna serve this in a martini glass, and all I'm gonna do is just dip that down in some fresh lemon or lime juice, whatever you have, and then I'm gonna run it around in the Old Bay seasoning, and I'm just gonna let that sit there. Isn't that pretty? Now I'm gonna start with a cup of mayonnaise. And I think I'm just gonna eyeball this. I ought to know what a cup looks like by now, hadn't I? Been cooking long enough. All right, now I'm gonna use a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. A little squirt of fresh lemon juice, a little lemon pepper, a little seasoning salt. All right. Now, I've got 1 pound of lump crab meat here. Now, I'm gonna cut mine so I can make it go further with 1 pound of claw meat. So I'm just gonna fold these meats into my mayonnaise. Okay. So we're gonna toss in 2 or 3 diced Roma tomatoes. A little asparagus that's been diced pretty finely. All right, and I've got some fresh lemon zest. We have us a yummy crab martini. Now, I love to serve our martinis using a little Boston leaf lettuce. It reminds me of just like, I feel like I'm almost eating velvet when I eat it. All right, now I'm just gonna take my crab mixture, put it into my martini glass, just like that. A couple of sprigs of asparagus. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of that lemon zest on top. Dot it with a few of those tomatoes, a little Old Bay, and we've got a beautiful crab martini. And there is just nothing that'll taste so good on a summer night as a crab martini. So good, y'all. I've had a great time being with y'all today. I hope that y'all will try some of these recipes.
Hey, y'all, it's Paula Deen. Now, if y'all enjoyed this week's full episode Friday, be sure to like it and click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell to be alerted when I post a video. Love and best dishes, friends.